Hello and welcome back to the Elsie version. Today we are in Romans chapter 10. Mind you, the last bit of Romans 9 ended up with, I'll just read it to you in verse 30. What shall we say then? That Gentiles who did not pursue righteousness have attained it? That is a righteousness that is by faith. But that Israel who pursued a law that would lead to righteousness did not succeed in reaching that law. Why? Because they did not pursue it by faith. Okay, so we're talking about faith. Verse 1 of chapter 10. Brothers, my heart's desire and prayer to God for them is that they may be saved. These are talking about the people who are doing it, not of works. Not of faith, but of works. For I bear them witness that they have a real zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. For being ignorant of the righteousness of God and seeking to establish their own, they did not submit to God's righteousness. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. Verse 5. For Moses writes about the righteousness that is based on the law, that the person who does the commandments shall live by them. So they're being their own gods, basically. Verse 6. But the righteousness based on faith says, do not say in your heart, who will ascend into heaven, that is to bring Christ down, or who will descend into the abyss, that is to bring Christ up from the dead. But what does it say? The word is near you, in your mouth and in your heart. That is the word of faith that we proclaim. Because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. For the scripture says, everyone who believes in him will not be put to shame. For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek, for the same Lord is Lord of all, bestowing his riches on all who call on him. God doesn't play favorites. Yet again. And there is no distinction, right? We're all being grafted in. That's pretty straightforward too, the gospel there, right? Very straightforward. Verse 14. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? We are all sent. That's what Jesus did when he said, go out and make disciples, right? So we're all sent. We all need to preach. And we all need to tell. And we all need to be one of the tools that God uses to bring people to salvation. Oh, I love that. As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed what he has heard from us? I mean, how many of the Jews turned against Jesus, right? Like, you can't expect all of them to believe, but you are still called to go and tell them. So faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. So it's not just faith comes from hearing, but it's from having ears to hear and eyes to see. A little bit different than so, and that gets back to what he was saying before of faith makes everything. Like, faith is from Christ, right? So we cannot have faith without Christ giving us the faith. It's a little confusing, but it is what it is. Verse 18. But I ask, have they not heard? Indeed they have, for their voice has gone out to all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. But I asked, did Israel not understand? First Moses says, I will make you jealous of those who are not a nation. With a foolish nation I will make you angry. Then Isaiah is so bold as to say, I have been found by those who did not seek me. I have shown myself to those who did not ask for me. So this is conversations about the Gentiles, which would have pissed off the Jews at that time because they thought themselves above them. But here you have very clearly Paul, and these are things that Jesus has quoted, Jesus quoted these too, of just the fact that the Gentiles saw Jesus. Like, you got to realize that all people are made in the image of God. And even back then, there were people wanting something more. They had a void in them too. And their false idols weren't cutting it. Verse 21. But of Israel, he says, all day long I have held out my hands to a disobedient and contrary people. Yeah, it's just, do you see everybody made in God's image? Do you or do you make a distinction? When you look at people who aren't Christians, do you see them the way Christ sees them? Do you see them the way Paul sees them? That's your question for tonight. Do you see people the way Jesus sees people? If not, you should probably ask for new eyes to see. Talk to you tomorrow.